Okay, let's get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are around the world. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Eli. I'm with Modern Health. Typically, we partner with companies to offer comprehensive mental health benefits to their employees. But during these uncertain and challenging and certainly unprecedented times, we are excited to offer these free community support sessions to everybody. A couple things to note. You may have already noticed that all participants are automatically muted, although we do highly encourage participation in the form of questions, comments, concerns. You can ask me in the Q&A feature or the chat feature that you can access in the Zoom window. I will be monitoring that throughout the duration of the session. We will also be recording the session and sending it out to all registered attendees. You can find all historical sessions on our website at modernhealth.com. There'll be a big link to COVID-19 resources. Follow that and you can access all the historical sessions as well as schedule for the future sessions. So our conversation today is with one of our Modern Health therapists, Dr. Erika Simon. This session is on dealing with strong emotions, which I think obviously is highly relevant for today's conversation. So really excited. One real quick disclaimer, the content in this webinar is provided for educational purposes only. It's not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please contact your healthcare provider for clinical needs and never disregard any professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you heard in this session. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Erika Simon.
Hi, thank you so much, Eli. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. My specialties are in adjustment, anxiety, stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, and health-related concerns. And then I also have training in evidence-based techniques that are relevant for addressing those issues. So just a quick overview, we're going to be talking about the nature of emotions, the function of feelings, and then strategies for coping with difficult emotions. So the nature of emotions. So emotions are an important part of our human existence, even the difficult ones. And it's really common to try to avoid emotions that feel negative or painful. And what we find is that when we try to cope with avoiding difficult emotions or numbing them, this doesn't actually work, and it can actually create more stress and even harm. So emotions, we can try really hard to numb them out. I can imagine that everyone on this call has had the experience of trying to just numb out from feeling the difficult emotions that are coming up, fear, anxiety, worry, sadness, grief. But the thing with that is that we can't just numb out our difficult emotions. By numbing ourselves, we actually numb our entire emotional experience. So emotions are what help us feel truly alive. And we want to be emotionally engaged in our lives and emotionally engaged with others in our lives. So it's important to note that feelings have a function. The function that they play is that they are messengers that tell us something about the environment and what's going on around us. And they help us know what sort of actions we should take. So we can tap into this wisdom of our emotions if we pay attention to them. Fear and anxiety tell us that danger might be present or is present. Happiness and joy can make us feel connected and grounded. And the goal is to pay attention to your emotions to figure out what needs to happen and what decisions you need to make. It's really about an action-oriented kind of approach to emotions when we think about it. But sometimes we can actually just get completely hijacked by our emotions and feel like we're being taken on a ride or swept away by them, especially when they're particularly strong or intense during what we're all experiencing right now is a really intense stressor. So when we're experiencing emotions, a really good solid first step to take with those emotions is to first check in and see what the emotion is telling us about the situation at hand. You know, we don't have just this experience of wanting to get rid of the emotions and say that none of the situation Nothing about the situation is problematic or difficult or a problem. We want to see if the fear or worry has some sort of evidence for it. And I think particularly right now, we do have evidence for concern. There is a real ongoing crisis that's happening, and we're all having to do our part to really work to reduce the threat that is at hand. So just noting that right now you are going to have worries and fears and concerns and sadness and grief, that's all really based in what's really happening around you. And just noting that and acknowledging that and validating your own emotional experience. So this is a realistic fear or worry that we have right now. So the next step is to look if there are actions that you can take today to address it. So if you have a fear around staying healthy, are you following the CDC guidelines for what to do? Are you following your local shelter in place requirements? Are you doing things today to address that fear or worry? This is if you think about like a worry such as, I'm worried that the house might burn down. Well, do you have the appropriate measures in place? Do you have a fire extinguisher? Do you have smoke detectors? Those are actions that you can do, and your emotions can tell you that those are actions you can take. But sometimes there are worries or concerns or fears where there really aren't any actions that we can take any further than what we already are. And those emotions can still be present. And again, because they're valid, like right now, fear and worry are really valid emotions to be experiencing. So instead of trying to move away from them and just disregard them, it's important to take steps to find healthy ways to cope with them. So the first thing that we can do is learn how to surf our emotions. And if everybody is willing, if we can do a little exercise, just sit comfortably and close your eyes if you don't mind. Feel like you are able. And then take a moment to really tap into how you're feeling right now, noticing your emotional experience. What are you feeling? Notice how it feels in your body. Notice your thoughts that are going through your mind. Notice what actions you feel like you want to take because of that. Noticing the intensity of the emotions you're experiencing. See if you can notice how the emotion may be peaked, or how the emotions slowly diminish over time through your thoughts, through your body, through your behavior, choices you would want to make. And then notice that you can handle it, that you can sit with that difficult emotion, whatever it is you're feeling, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, the sadness. Notice that you can sit there and you can handle it. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes. So I'd love to get some thoughts from people on how that made you feel. What did you notice about that experience?
Yeah, I think a interesting comment that was made was someone was talking about how they often feel like their emotions, aren't valid, like they disagree with them. This person was saying they got really angry with their roommate the other day for not doing not doing his dishes after he, made dinner. But this person felt like that wasn't, that was like an overreaction, and so just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So I think, this is like really helpful to try to determine like really what you're feeling and where the emotions are coming from, because I agree they can often be really complex, and maybe the thoughts that are spinning through your head aren't exactly the emotions.
Yeah, exactly. So really differentiating between those different, aspects of your experience. Your thoughts are not your emotions. Your thoughts are not facts. And your emotions, whatever it is you're feeling, are totally valid. And just being able to sit with them, acknowledge them, validate them, and know that emotions aren't dangerous, that we can handle them. They don't feel that way in the moment a lot of times. And so we resist them and push them away, but we can handle it. We're very resilient as humans.
Absolutely. I think that also ties into a really good question we had, or similar, where this person said, I often notice that when I'm feeling really strong emotions, I feel guilty for having them in the first place.
Mhm.
I'm realizing that the feelings of guilt for experiencing the emotions are often stronger than the original emotion in the first place. So, do you have any advice for how to prevent this shame spiral? They called it, or I know I've heard like shame shaming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a huge one. It's such a great question. So, just beginning to have a better, emotional awareness of what you are experiencing and feeling. I think there'll be some skills that'll be coming up on some of the next slides that I think will help you to tap into that. But I really, highly I invite you to just validate your own emotional experience like you would for your very most favorite person on the planet. Who is your very favorite person? And think about how you would act towards them and what you would say to them if they were experiencing what you're feeling, and try to catch it before that guilt comes into play. And even if the guilt has come into play, it's that you can still use the same exercise of just, okay, what would I tell my very best friend? Great question.
Perfect. Yeah, it's amazing.
So, using your channels of emotions is really important. So we experience emotions through our thoughts, in our bodies, and our behaviors. So thoughts can be that's so unfair, or why is this happening to me? Your body, you might feel muscle tension, increased heart rate. You might notice that you have changes in breathing. You might have changes in behavior. You might notice that you're yelling, or you're stewing on something, or you're just being really avoidant of tasks that you need to do. When you're experiencing strong emotions, one of these channels will be easier to notice in the moment and do something about. So you might notice that you have the streaming thoughts that go through your mind and you go, ooh, I can notice that. But you might be less likely to notice the other channels. You might notice that you're yelling at your kids. You might notice that you're really physically tense, or you feel your heart pounding in your chest. Noticing how tapping into what you feel and which one of these is most predominant and easiest to notice in the moment will help you find a way to impact that one. And when you impact one channel of emotion, you'll notice that it impacts the other ones as well. So I know this is a busy slide, but I wanted to include all this information. So it can be a really important step to cope with difficult emotions by taking action. So fear, anxiety, sadness, these are all emotions that make us withdraw from what is happening. So when you notice yourself withdrawing, whether in your mind or with your behaviors, your actions, fight that urge. Be present in the current moment. Be active. Do things that you enjoy and that make you feel good. And start with something small. This is not the time to be a superhuman. This is not the time to be super parent. This is not the time to take on every task at hand and be super productive and start 3 new hobbies or skills, right? Start with something small. Ask yourself, what is something small that I can do right now to feel good? So exercise is a really good one. Get your body moving. Take a short, brisk walk outside if you can. Bonus points if you can safely be in a green space and follow the local sheltering guidelines that you need to adhere to, or if you're quarantining, staying inside, of course. Improving your environment. Reduce the clutter. Put on nice music. Put on your favorite outfit. Be around smells that you love. These sorts of things in the environment can really signal to us whether we feel stressed or relaxed. Tapping into now. So using all 5 senses to bring you to this moment that you're experiencing right now, even with the emotions that you're experiencing. So what do you taste, touch, feel, hear? All of the senses that you can bring into play, just even for a 10 to 20 second to a minute, you can just take that moment to bring yourself to this moment. And do a pleasurable activity. Do some arts and crafts, dance, sing, garden, paint, play an instrument, play board games, play with your kids and pets, read an enjoyable book, take a luxurious bath. All of these items that are on this list are things that you can do and can engage in, even though we have this social distancing happening right now. You can also change your breathing. So again, that body sensations that we have, this is a really powerful channel for working with strong emotions. So as you're feeling any kind of fear or sadness or anxiety or worry, you can take a moment to change your breathing. When we're stressed and anxious, our breathing becomes the opposite of what it is when we're relaxed. And so by changing our breathing back to what it should be when we're relaxed, we can actually help signal to ourselves that things are better and calmer than they are feeling in the moment with strong emotions. So when you want to breathe, it's very simple. So you want to have just very slow, gentle belly breaths. So when we're stressed, we breathe with our chests. That signals to our brain, there is probably danger lurking somewhere. Bringing that breath down to the abdomen, breathing slow and gentle, the belly, through the nose with the mouth closed, and then extending the exhales. When we're relaxed, our exhalations are twice as long as our inhalations approximately. And when we're stressed, the opposite happens. So having this channel, this body channel, and changing your your breathing can be a very powerful way to cope with some of those strong emotions that feel like they're too intense. You can begin a meditation practice. So just bringing that awareness. Awareness is really important with emotions. It can be really difficult to notice what emotions we are experiencing. And I think that can really lead to that worry, that emotion spiral that you were talking about in the question. And then emotions build on each other. And exactly like you were saying, it can lead to that guilt about having those emotions. So having a meditation practice, there are different kinds of meditations that are useful. There's mindfulness meditation, which is paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. So the non-judgment piece is really important with mindfulness meditation because we judge ourselves all the time. And then there is that additive aspect of our emotional experience getting compounded. We feel guilty for how we feel, or our fears just compound on themselves. Worries go into a worry spiral of what ifs. So beginning a meditation practice with mindfulness can be a really powerful tool to being able to tap in the present moment and noticing how you're feeling, and then giving yourself gentleness around it and non-judgment. There's also really great meditations around loving kindness practices, self-acceptance, loving self-compassion. These are all things that we're actually really terrible at giving ourselves. We can accept other people, but we really don't know how to accept ourselves. We don't give ourselves the same kind of love and care and compassion that we would to, again, our favorite person on the planet. So beginning to have some of these meditation practices can be a powerful tool for just being able to sit with and accept the strong emotions that you're absolutely going to be experiencing right now.
Erika, do you have any like words of wisdom, advice on like how to get started with a meditation practice? Definitely got a lot of comments of like, I'm so bad at meditating. It's so hard, you know. And I know just that's like a common kind of barrier is people just feel like they're not good at it or anything like that. So
Absolutely. Great question. So I'm so glad you asked that. First of all, there's lots of different apps out there that I highly recommend. Absolutely use an app. One, if you have Modern Health Benefits, Modern Health has meditation in their app. And there's Calm. Calm is my favorite. That's the one that I use. They're really good for a lot of different kinds of meditations. Headspace is out there, Insight Timer. There's Mindfulness Coach, which is put out by the VA, but it's great for civilians as well. So getting an app and getting started can help you learn how to meditate properly. And again, it's really an important part of this, that non-judgment piece is important, but it can still feel like you're not doing it right. So what's interesting about mindfulness meditation and meditation in general is it's not the act of doing it perfectly that gives you the benefit. It's the act of just doing it. So for example, with mindfulness meditation, it's not how long you can sustain your attention on your breathing. It's how many times you can it's when you can catch yourself going to thought and going, aha, I'm thinking, there's my thinking mind, and pulling yourself back to the present moment of what it feels like to be breathing. That's actually where the benefit is. So if you do that 1 time or 20 times or 100 times, that's that muscle flexing. So you are doing it correctly no matter how many times your mind wanders. that is okay. It's the acknowledging, the noticing. And if you don't find that you can bring yourself back a single time in a meditation practice, that's okay. You do it tomorrow, you do it again, and you just keep on flexing that muscle of non-reactivity, non-judgment, of your awareness, and bringing it back to the breath. Another powerful way to deal with strong emotions is to use imagery. So if you're really finding that you're just really struggling to sit and just be with the difficult emotions, what you can do is you can use a guided imagery exercise to ground yourself. So when we're feeling swept away by emotions, we can feel like we're in the present moment, but we generally aren't. We're either remembering something and worrying about the past, or we're worrying about the future. So taking a moment to use an imagery exercise where you go someplace peaceful in your mind and you incorporate all 5 senses as vividly as possible. You want to go there in your mind's eye. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you touch? What do you hear? You want to do all 5 senses. I don't think I got all 5 right there, but you're just using all 5 senses as best as you can to go there in your mind's eye. Even doing this for as little as 30 seconds to a minute can have a profound impact on your feeling of groundedness and how well you're able to cope with what you are experiencing in the moment. And just some quick final thoughts. Sometimes we can't change how we feel, and it's important to be kind and gentle with yourself. Allow yourself also to find moments of joy. Joy is a positive emotion that can be found in most any situation, even when there's stress and anxiety that's occurring, like what we're experiencing right now. You can find moments of joy with playing with your pets or your kids, or laughing with a friend. There's lots of ways to find joy. You becoming more present and mindful of your emotions is a very important step. Try not to judge yourself for your emotions or thoughts. And then recognizing what you're doing well right now. You are actively coping with a stressful situation, and you're doing it much better than you think you are. And so really tapping into, what am I doing well? What am I doing right? And then the things that you're struggling with, be gentle with yourself and let it be okay. So with that, I would love to just open it up for any last questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I really love the part about, like, talking to yourself like you would a close friend or something. Like that person's comment about like getting mad at their roommate for not doing dishes. Like, it's like, you're not a bad person for that. Like, clearly you have a lot of reason to be frustrated. That's okay. Having a lot of compassion for yourself is awesome. Let's see. I think this is a good question. So this person says, my partner is the type of person that has very strong emotions, and I don't so much. How can I be a good supportive partner without jumping into the strong emotions myself?
That is a good question. So it can be really easy to catch you. Emotions definitely can be contagious, right? Is what we like to say, because you can absolutely just, talk with somebody who's feeling a strong emotion and kind of take that on for yourself. So some of the grounding exercises when you are going to talk with your partner can be helpful, like finding a place of groundedness for yourself before you begin the conversation. Tapping into how you feel can be really important. And then as you're talking with them, noticing what's coming up for you in that moment. Just acknowledging that and noticing that is important. And then you don't actually have to buy into those emotions. So we feel like we have to feel the feelings that we have. We feel like we have to buy into the thoughts. So being able to say, I'm going to just not totally buy into this emotional experience. You can use I think the metaphor that can be useful is, you have 2 ways of experiencing a waterfall. You can be in the waterfall with the cascade, or you can be that objective observer that's looking at the waterfall. And just even having that kind of mindset, like, I'm going to talk with my partner and let him or her have their emotional experience. And I'm going to just make sure I'm not in the waterfall. I'm outside looking at the waterfall, and validating as best as you can that it's okay that they're feeling the way that they are, and try not to get into that problem solving mode. When people are feeling strong emotions, they're going to be more able to regulate them if they get that validation that what they're feeling is okay and normal and you understand. Popping into problem solving can actually amplify the strong emotion on their side, and then that in turn can cause that kind of amplification effect, going both ways. So those would be my main suggestions for handling that situation.
That's perfect. Yeah, I feel like that's a combination of like a lot of different things that we talked about in this session. Like having compassion, but also like staying grounded and understanding kind of your own, how your own kind of interaction with the emotions, yourself. Because even when people say, like, a lot of times people could say like, oh, I don't have strong emotions, but it's maybe just that they deal with them differently, I think. And so and both are valid, right? So.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we are just, about at time. So thank you everybody for, participating. We had a lot of great questions. Thank you so much for being here. Big thank you to you, Erika. That was incredible. That was a really awesome session. So, I feel really grateful for having, listened to it. For anybody, if you have any further questions, feel free to check out our website, modernhealth.com. Or you can also, if you had a specific question for the team, you can email at info at modernhealth.com. That's all I have. Until next time, thank you so much, Dr. Erika.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.